Hola chicos y bienvenidos a otra presentación gramatical. Hoy nosotros vamos a conocer los mandatos formales, pero también quiero explicarles qué son los mandatos en inglés también. Les presento este concepto en un contexto sobre recomendaciones para ustedes, estudiantes universitarios. Primero, vamos a enfocar en el significado siempre, lo más importante, y después ustedes pueden identificar las formas gramaticales. Ok, por ejemplo, estudiantes limpian sus casas frecuentemente. ¿Entienden? ¿No? Ok, después la gramática. Y les pregunto en inglés, what is going on here? We know the meaning, which is the most important and very important in order to understand the grammar. In this particular concept, limpian sus casas is our main focus today. We know that this is a vocabulary phrase from our chapter, which I'll be using lots of new phrases. And when you see these phrases, these verbs, I want you to think about the infinitivo, limpiar, which is an AR verb. Typically, when I speak to third person plural people, whether it's, third person like ellos, ellas, or second person when I'm speaking to you like ustedes, an AR ending would be AN. But what's happened here? EN. Why? Because I'm telling you to clean your houses, to clean your homes. Limpien. When we hear that change in the ending, we know it's called a command. What's a command? When you tell somebody to do something, you don't ask, you're not stating what they're doing, you tell them, like, be polite, leave me alone, or call me tomorrow. Those are commands. They're short, they're sweet, they're direct, and in Spanish, they use them very frequently across cultures. Examinemos más. Otro ejemplo, estudiantes no ensucian su ropa cuando comen. No ensucian, no se hace, no se haga la ropa sucia cuando se come. ¿Ok? Su ropa está muy sucia debido a la comida. Ensucian viene del infinitivo ensuciar, no? So just like limpiar, we changed the ending to en. Why? Two reasons. A, it's a command. B, it's a plural form. And we know when we make verbs plural, we don't add the letter S on the end like nouns and adjectives. When we make verbs plural, we add MOS if it's first person plural, and we add the letter N if it's third person plural or second person plural in Latin America. Otro ejemplo. Estudiantes barren el suelo después de dar una fiesta. Ok, ¿entienden? Mandato formal. Estudiantes, plural, barran, porque el infinitivo es barrer. And when we hear that sound, that ending change to an an, barran, we know I'm telling you to sweep the floor. Por ejemplo, también estudiantes sacudan los muebles cada semana, ¿no? Infinitivo sacudir. So ER and IR verbs change to AN, and AR verbs change to EN when we're telling a group of people directly to do something, like a teacher in her class, or a parent and their kids, or anybody, a flight attendant on an airplane talking to a group of people. Buckle your seatbelts, things like that. Those are commands. And so we change the ending, and we know as a listener or the reader that we're telling somebody to do something. Ok, otro ejemplo muy importante. Estudiantes, no se acuesten tarde por la noche durante la semana. Ok, bueno, son las 4, casi, bueno, menos 5 de la mañana y esta chica ahora está acostándose acostarse es el verbo, el infinitivo. ¿Ok? Y hay cosas importantes gramaticales de este verbo. So first, let's focus on the command, AR verb, change the ending, okay? And I'm telling you not, and this is important, when I tell y'all not to do something, and it just so happens that this verb, this infinitive, is reflexive, my reflexive pronoun comes before my command, because we're going to look at some other examples in which there's variation with the pronouns. So listen carefully. But to summarize in general, before we look at those pronouns, formal commands, basically, they're called formal. Why? Because we're using usted and ustedes. That's the formal you in Spanish, but really it's also geographical and culture. Because it's cultural. In Spain, they use to much more than usted, but in a lot of Latin America, they mainly use usted. And in all of Latin America, they use ustedes, whereas in Spain they use vosotros. But the grammatical term is formal commands. Informal commands are two commands, and you're going to learn about those in Spanish 202. But just know for now that when we tell somebody that we're not familiar with, or perhaps we're speaking in Costa Rica or Colombia where they pretty much exclusively use usted, we are going to simply change our ending so that they know we're telling them to do something. And unless I'm in Spain, I'm going to use ustedes, that an or en, on the ending of my verbs to tell a group of people to do things directly. So here's a little rhyme to help you remember. It's very simple. We have been talking about past tense all course. Chapter 9, Chapter 10, and Chapter 11. Preterite and perfect, preterite and imperfect. But now we're switching to present tense, and the conjugations are pretty simple. All you have to do is go to the yo, drop the o at the end of the yo form. For example, if I want to tell you to speak Spanish, the yo form of hablar would be hablo, and then I drop the yo and change it to the opposite of what we know. So an AR verb changes to E. Hable español, if I'm speaking to all of you. Hablen español, por favor. Now, it's important to know to go to the yo, because why? Stem changing verbs. Dormir. Let's say I'm babysitting in a Spanish-speaking country and the kids aren't going to sleep. The yo form has a stem change, and I want to tell the kids to sleep, so I need to change that ER, IR verb, dormir, not just the ending, plural, an, but also my stem change. So duerman ya, go to sleep now. But then we also have verbs, infinitives like divertirse, have fun. We use that all the time as a command. And when we use a command that has a reflexive pronoun on the end, and in formal commands, we're just referring to those third person pronouns because those are the usted form pronouns. There's some rules we need to know about pronouns. But also, we use commands with pronouns all the time. Drink it, watch it, call me. And so, there's some rules about pronouns that we need to know and be ready to apply. Limpienlas frecuentemente. So, a lot of times when we tell somebody to do something, the first time we tell them to do something, we actually say limpien las casas, and we use that direct object noun, las casas. But if I have to tell you again and again, I'm going to replace that noun, casas, with a direct object pronoun, las, and notice, where does it go? It gets attached to the end of my verb conjugation, of my command, limpien las. And what happens? The emphasis, because now we have multiple syllables, is on this first I. And we'll talk about accent placement momentarily. But I want you to see a couple more examples before I explain how the accent marks work. Limpienlas frecuentemente. When I tell you to do something, I attach the pronoun on the end. If I choose to use a pronoun. If it's just like, if I want to tell you to eat the pizza, I could say comen la pizza. I don't have to use the pronoun. But if I do say eat it, I'd say comenla. Bárrenlo. Por ejemplo, lo, el suelo, ¿no? And I've replaced el suelo because it's singular and masculine with lo. And lo has been attached to the end of my command. Barrer, barran, lo. And miren, that's a command as well. Miren, look. My accent's on the first A. Barranlo, barranlo. But notice, since we were just talking about the accent mark, you might have started to anticipate that it just goes on the first vowel, which is incorrect. What's the difference between barranlo and limpianlas? When you look at both of these examples that have pronouns attached to the end, you see that the accent goes on the first vowel of the first syllable. But here's the thing. Barrer and limpiar, when we use them as commands, they only have two syllables. Barran, limpien. Those are only two-syllable commands, and therefore our accent mark goes on that, well, what's called the second to last syllable. Sacudir, sacudan has three syllables. And so just like the two-syllable commands, sacudan, with its three syllables, the accent goes on the vowel of the second to last syllable. So you're not going to put it on the an or the en, but you're going to put it on the vowel before that. Again, this is only when you attach the command, or excuse me, the pronoun on the end of the command, because I'm saying dust them every week. Los muebles. Okay, the other example previously was no se acuesten, tarde. But now I'm telling you to go to bed early. And I've attached that reflexive pronoun at the end of my command because I'm telling you to do something. When I tell you not to do something, the pronoun goes before the command. And again, this is only applies to pronouns, not just conjugating commands. I mean, hablar, habla en español, okay? We don't over attach pronouns unnecessarily. It's only reflexive pronouns or when we want to express ideas like eat it, clean them, or, don't tell her, for example. Otherwise, just with a regular command conjugation, you go to the O, drop the O, and change it to the opposite of what we know. And notice, questen, three syllables, accent on the vowel of the second to last syllable. And we have five vowels in Spanish, just like English. And the A's and the E's are the strong vowels, so they always get the accent mark, even when combined with other vowels. Okay, so when we tell somebody to do something, that's an affirmative command, and if we have a pronoun, then the pronoun gets attached on the end of the command with the accent on the second to last syllable. But notice when we tell them not to do something, our pronoun is coming before the command. And that applies to reflexive verbs and verbs used with direct and indirect object pronouns. Okay, so now we're going to go through a couple in which you have to figure out which verb makes the most sense to complete the sentence and how you would change it to its command form. Por ejemplo, señorita, una persona. So immediately note your answer will not have the letter N on the end. La mesa, what's she doing? Quitar la mesa. No. Quitar, when we change it to its command form, we go to the yo, drop the yo, and change it to the opposite of what we know. Quite la mesa, por favor. Luego, usted, una persona, lavar, no? Los platos, go to the O, drop the O, change it to the opposite. And it's just lave, not lave, because that would be the yo form preterite tense. Like I washed the dishes, yo lavé los platos ayer. That's past tense, which is why those accent marks are so important. But if I'm telling him to wash the dishes, I'd say lave los platos. Otro ejemplo o otra práctica. Usted, una persona, el suelo, barrer, ¿no? Entonces el mandato es barra, barra el suelo de la cocina. Señorita, actually this should be señor, perdón. La aspiradora, pasar, ¿no? Mandato, pase, pase la aspiradora en la sala. Ok, y los irregulares, perdón, lo pasé rápidamente, pero ahora los irregulares. Clase, ponga la mesa antes de comer. Again, focus on meaning, what am I telling him to do? To set the table. Ponga la mesa, haga la cama, go in the yo. So that's why it's important to go to the yo when we make these conjugations, because these verbs are called go verbs. Y aquí hay más. Salir, salga, tener, tenga, etc. Which is why it's so important to go to the yo first, then drop the yo and change it to the opposite of what you know. Otras formas de ortografía. Cecilia is how we pronounce the name. And I use this name deliberately because I want to point out what happens to the sound of the C next to the letter E. So like a verb like sacar la basura, in its infinitive form, it has a strong C sound. Sacar, a strong C sound. And if I just switched that ending to the letter E, it would change that C to an S sound. And to maintain that hard C sound, we change it to Q-U-E, saque la basura, or saque la basura. And we have seen this in the preterite tense yo form. If I want to say that I took out the trash, yo saqué la basura ayer. But here, I'm not using the yo form in the preterite. I'm telling Cecilia to take out the trash. Saque la basura. And on that note, just like the preterite tense yo forms, where we have cargar-zar verbs, it applies as well phonetically to the commands. We can't change just the G to the E because it changes that G sound to like an H sound, Jorge. So what do? Throw in that U. Pague con su dinero. Su dinero, because remember, we're speaking to Jorge in the usted form. And then we have empezar, no empiezan, conducir, conduzcan. Notice the present tense, the present tense form of the verb conducir is conduzco. And so when we change it to the yo form, conduzco, conduzcan. And otra vez, su carros, su tarea. Careful with those little possessive adjectives on the supersite. That's where you lose points. And then these are just completely irregular. Estén, ir, vayan. This is completely new. Saber, sepan, again, new. Ser, sean. It's pronounced sean, not Sean, sean. And ver, vean. Ver and ser are very similar. Ok, bueno chicos, eso es todo. Muchas gracias y hasta pronto.